How's it going, buddy?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. All right. I don't know that we have anybody watching this at this time of the morning, but if
As they should be. They should probably be sleeping instead of instead of us.
well, and that's why we call this Insomniac chat. So,
It's true.
If there is anybody watching this as we're talking, Chris has been amazing, helping me over the last 2 days get all of this stuff set up so that I could come and talk to you folks while we're under this lockdown. So first of all, thank you very much, Chris. And second of all, this is a little test run to make sure all the little bits and pieces and everything that we have going are working. So if you are there, give us a hello. We do have a page over here that has a chat up. If there is anybody talking to us, it should pop up here, I believe, if all of our things are correct.
Yep.
All right, so why don't we do this? Chris, dude, tell me how your life has changed through all of this nonsense.
Wow. Technically, I'm in IT, so I'm classified as essential service. So I should theoretically be working. However, I'm an outbound tech, which means that like 90% of my interaction is with the public and in very public places. So let me backtrack a tiny bit here and just say that our eldest daughter, Zoey, has cystic fibrosis. That's right. I was just going to say, and you've been very, very much a big help in helping, with the publicity and the promotion of those events, and I appreciate it. Anyway, so the big scare behind COVID-19 is that what it does is it causes fibrosis of the lungs. That's why it's so dangerous. And for somebody in her case where she already has an issue with that, we made the executive decision that as soon as we heard that there was going to be a lockdown put into effect, that I went off work immediately. So that means that the day job went bye-bye. Fortunately, Canada, stepped up and made sure that we were all able to get, some form of employment insurance very easily and very rapidly, and that's great. The bigger problem, of course, like with all musicians are having, or all performers are having right now, is because all the bars shut down, all the venues and clubs shut down. There's no place for us to go. So my calendar has been wiped absolutely clean as of 3 weeks ago. Do you have a rough estimate of how many gigs you've lost even just so far through all of this? So far, if I go into the projection where they think that this is going to still be happening in May, we're probably looking at 40.
I mean, that's huge for you, right?
Yeah, I mean that's it's first off, it's the dissatisfaction of not being able to do something I love to do. Worse than that is it's a paycheck, and if the day job's already suffering, then the supplemental paycheck of the gigs becomes even more missed. Yeah, for sure. So you've got all of this stuff going on. You're in lockdown. Your family, and you've got it's yourself, your wife, and you've got 3 kids, right? Four. Yeah, sorry. every two years, like clock.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Get on TV
on your birthday. So with all of the lockdown going on, and I know you were itching to get your performance side out. And actually, I jokingly made a comment. I think it was on the day before St. Patrick's Day that every talented person is about to become a live stream professional, and turn around and there you were almost day one, right?
Yeah. Well, it was you put creative people in a situation where they have no creative outlet, and suddenly what's that? Invention, the necessity of invention, right? So I realized pretty quick that I have nothing else that I can do, so I might as well keep my chops up and practice and work on songs, and if I can help myself that way, great, and why not live stream it and see if anybody bothers to be interested. And so I went on this one site that I'd been at before called Street Jelly, and it's a really cool idea. It's a virtual busking service. So you sign up to it, and you play your tunes, and then people there purchase tokens, and they can then tip you with those tokens. So that was pretty neat. it was definitely a way for me to satisfy the performance itch. But then after that, I started to get the urge to be a little more visible, I guess. That's apparently the artist ego in me, and decided that I would try to do it some through Facebook Live and then some through YouTube Live. And then I stumbled upon this restream idea that we were talking about. Actually, it was actually recommended to me by a friend of mine who does game streaming. And I just started playing, and most people who know me will tell you that if I'm at a gig or solo gig especially, that I don't like to stop. Right? I just love to do it. And so the first couple of days I went for like 4 hours and 5 hours.
Yeah, you're kind of a bit of an animal that way, right?
Well, you say animal, other people say egomaniac. So it started turning into my personal record for performance without a break was at the Bridge House in Kingsville, and that was 6 hours and 7 minutes. So that became the standard, right? Like it was here, and then egged on by a few really nice, kind, loyal, compassionate people. I ended up breaking that record. So the first day was like 4 hours, then 5 hours, then 6 hours, then 7 hours, then 8, and then 8.5. So eight and a half is where I stopped. Because it started to hurt at that point. The voice was starting to suffer. But it has been over 4 hours at least every day that I've been doing it. And I've only taken one day off, and that was after the 8.5 hour day because I was done.
Right.
But the thing that's been so incredibly cool to see is how appreciative people are for just having something to listen to or something to watch. I mean, people have cable, they have movies, they have all that kind of stuff, but for some reason, people are drawn to this live performance thing. And I've gotten so many people that have made so many wonderful comments to me about, thank you so much for, bringing us a little bit of relief or happiness or whatever in this time when everybody's freaking out. And I think that's what comes of it, and that's fantastic, And even better is that there are so many Windsor artists that are doing this now, that are going out through the live stream, and it doesn't have to be a complicated technology hurdle to get over. I've invested a lot of time into getting my setup to sound finally now the way that it should, but that's just because that's what I do. I'm a gearhead, and that's fine. But I think it's so cool that the people that love to entertain do, and even cooler, the people that love to watch it appreciate it.
It's been amazing to see all of the different variations that have come out through all of this. Everything from Bronwyn and her social distancing dance parties, which have been amazing, to, like you said, all of the different musicians that are doing different versions of live streaming. Mark Halcott, yourself. Jake had his going. Like there's, I don't want. Ron Leary did one at 2 o'clock in the morning earlier tonight. It was amazing. It's been so awesome to see, and I'm lucky enough too that I've got some connections to musicians outside of Windsor as well, and they're all doing it. They're all doing it as well, and even to watch the country get involved as well with. There's a fund. I don't have the names. They're right here, but there's a fund that they put together out of Toronto for like the Musicians Union, and a friend of mine, Julian Taylor, is going to be doing a live stream through all of that. I think that's cool. Incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the first thing I thought of when they had that iHeartRadio did that living room concert across America or whatever that was hosted by Elton John. The first comment I made when I saw that was like, hey, we're all on the same level now. Look at that. Isn't that cool?
Absolutely right. It's funny because when I put that post up on the 15th about everybody, all the great people about the live stream, Superstars or whatever it was, I think it was about 10 minutes after I put that post up, Dropkick Murphys and who's the country artist? Keith Urban. No, yeah, Keith Urban. both announced that they were going ahead and doing live streams as well. So yeah, it's hilarious because everybody's on the exact same level right now.
Yeah, and I mean, in some sense, I think it's really cool that, Canada's put out an artistic grant for musicians to recoup some of their gig money, where I think the disparity lies is in most of that are going to people like a Keith Urban type character who really don't need it. I would have liked to have seen, the little independent community guys kind of bumped up like that. But whatever. That's splitting hairs.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that comes down to all the politics of it too, right? So
sure.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. There have been so many people I've talked to now that have said we need to continue this post lockdown. Like the guys in my band are like, we should just be doing this once a week anyway. Just let's all go over, hang out at the studio, hook everything up, and just jam and live stream. I'm all for it. And like I said, I've been doing it now for 13 days straight. Well, minus one day. But what's that?
It's because you're old, man.
Yeah, it's on the whim. Yeah, actually, it's funny though. I was mentioning that I did say on my Facebook on the day that I took off, I said, I feel really badly that I'm taking this day, and I apologize, and I'll come back tomorrow and make sure everything's good. And my buddy Joe sent me a message. Joe Claus sent me a message. He's like, if you took the hours that you had already put into streaming, he's like, it's so far past regular gig hours. Don't even worry about it.
We'll be okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's neat, and it's neat for me, to try things I haven't tried before. Obviously, because I'm a gearhead, the idea of being able to play with the technology and get it to sound finally now the way it sounds. Like you said, you tuned in for a little bit this evening, and this evening was the first time in all these days where it really everything's now totally locked and dialed in. Like it apart from my playing and my singing, it sounds ultra professional. Like it
sounded great, man.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that in like a, oh, look how great I am kind of way. I just mean like this is the kind of thing that you are able to do now from the comfort of your own home, which is fantastic.
Yeah, like as we were talking about it, putting all of this together, like even like what the people at home are watching right now, this is a Skype conversation. That, through a couple of hours of research on YouTube and then a conversation with, yourself being able to walk me through some of this stuff, like, it hasn't been 2 days of putting all of this together. Most of that is like putting all these stupid graphics together and figuring out how, the little fancy stuff works, and you don't have to do that at all. Like this webcam, I went out and bought this webcam a couple of days ago because I was trying to put this together. It cost me $80. It's nothing that's super fancy now. Like, the rest of the stuff around me is because, I've been doing this and I have access to some stuff, but you don't have to do any of this. Like, even the live stream that Darcy and I did right before St. Patrick's Day or whatever, like, that's just my cell phone. Like, it's a good cell phone, don't get me wrong. It's the Galaxy S9 and it's got really good audio and video quality, but you don't need to be fancy to be able to sort of, like, access an audience right now.
Yeah, the cool thing is, it's the same argument I go back to all the time when people like to squawk about MP3s, right? Oh, MP3s, they destroy the fidelity of the original recording and they compress it all to hell and blah, blah, blah. Listen, dude, people are listening through computer speakers, okay? They don't care what it sounds like. They just want the experience, right? And that's what I've noticed. There have been a lot of people that are doing streams from their homes just through a tablet or through their phone. And, does it sound the absolute best? No. Do people care? No. I only care for my own purposes because it's fun for me to figure out, right? But what I think I'm going to do over the next couple of days, I'm going to put together a little video kind of walkthrough on how home artists can get it to sound the way that I have it sounding, which to me I think sounds really good. And it's not that hard. It's just you just need some walkthrough, to get it.
Especially for musicians, because like I can't imagine in 2020, before the world shut down, I can't imagine that if you're a musician, how do I say this? If you're a musician that's at the level where you're performing in front of people anyway, you probably have most of what you need in your house to be able to do this anyway. With the
100%.
Like with the addition of one or two extra little pieces, like maybe you don't own a webcam, okay, you can still get one You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you don't have to have all of the fancy gear. But chances are, if you're a musician who's been, investing in your career or investing in music as, some sort of like thing that's important to you, you probably have 90% of the gear that you already need anyway.
Absolutely. And basically, I would think that the one thing that most people would be missing would be an audio interface to a PC, because why on earth would they need that unless they're doing recording?
Well, I think like even there, like there's definitely a good group of home musicians that wouldn't have one, but like for most of the people that you and I know that are doing this like for this amount of time, most of those guys have something.
For sure, and most guys have subcompact mixers or compact mixers, and virtually every compact or subcompact mixer that has been released in the last 5 or 6 years has a USB interface that allows it to act as an audio interface to the computer. So it's a matter of doing something like what I did, do investigation and try a setup and try it over and over and over again until eventually you find a system that works. And so far,
this shit can be intimidating though, man.
For sure it can, absolutely. I mean, OBS, when I first got introduced to OBS, that's what you're using and what I'm using now, the Open Broadcast Suite. It's an open source visual broadcast center, basically.
Yeah,
when I first started using it, it was...
kind of thing.
What's that, sorry?
It's like an in-the-box switcher kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was horribly complicated and horribly documented. It was open source, and now it's had time to mature. And honestly, now, when you go to, even when you go to select your stream outputs, like Restream is there as an available option, and Facebook is there as an available option. All you need to do is connect your account, and you're done. It's not like before where you were setting up custom RTMP keys and stream keys and all that nonsense. You can just basically go connect my account, I'm good. So it's neat. I just happen to be in a really fortunate position because of my work. I have technology out the wazoo, right? So, in the studio, in the upstairs of the studio, there are probably 35 or 40 PCs. So I'll just go through there and find one that, this one's not bad, and let's use that one. But, by that token, if there are people out there that need that kind of equipment, just let me know, and I would be happy to provide you with one. Like, it's either going to sit up there collecting dust in the top of the studio, or someone's going to use it to be able to practice their craft. And that's what you should be doing.
It's amazing because another post that I put up recently was sort of talking about how it's fascinating to me how in crisis people just do more of what they do anyway. And you making the offer you just made, like, goes right back to the first time you and I ever met. The first time you and I ever met and sat down in my living room and played some music together ended with you giving me a monitor. So it's amazing to me. You've always been this guy. Like musically, that's one of the things I think you're most known for. I think what landed you in the Windsor Musicians Hall of Fame, right? Is the idea that every musician that you've ever come in contact with, you've spent time to sort of like lift up in one way or another. This seems to be kind of an extension of that to me.
That's incredibly awkward for me to hear, but that's cool. I don't know. I just the way I look at it is, one of my all-time heroes, and I don't care who will mock me for saying this, but one of my all-time heroes is Springsteen, and I think that he said one time the most amazingly, humbly benevolent thing I've ever heard in my life, and it's a maybe 6 or 7 word sentence that has now become my vision board or whatever, and it's nobody wins unless everybody wins. And that's the whole point. I mean, especially in an industry like ours, performance and arts, that can be so blindingly competitive. I'd rather land on the other side of that coin. I would rather have people say, yeah, you know what, he's not the best piano player, not the best guitar player, not the best singer, or whatever. But if you're stuck on something, he'll give you a hand. I would be totally happy with that.
Well, I think most people start with what an incredible musician you are to begin with, and then follow up with the other stuff.
You got to introduce me to those people.
I think you know all of them, dude.
No, but you take my meaning. It doesn't take any extra effort to be a human being. That's my opinion. In fact, it usually requires an extraordinary effort to not be a human being. And why would you put your energy into that? I'd rather put my energy into playing for 8.5 hours.
Yeah, it's an amazing little sort of like community we have here, and
it is.
Yeah, and
it is. Windsor is extremely fortunate in the amount of people that are there to lift each other up. 100%.
Yeah, it seems to be. I mean, and it seems to be growing. Like the idea of putting that competitiveness aside, and it's great to see like all of the little projects that are starting to pop up where groups of local musicians are kind of coming together to do some stuff. I mean, that's been something that's been important to me and been a part of the reason why I've done the podcast itself over the last 4 years. But it's to see all of the different branches of that can sprout out, it has been such a pleasure.
And what it's been really interesting for me, especially over this last little period of freakoutness, is you start to see, I mean, there are definitely different cliques of musicians in the city. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, I just mean that people hang out with like-minded folks, that's all. But there has been so much reach across those lines. That's the thing I think is the most amazing to me, is that there are people that I normally wouldn't necessarily give me the time of day only because I'm not in their sphere of influence, and have reached out and said, oh, what you're doing is pretty cool, thanks for doing it. And that to me is awesome. It's going back to that whole thing of, it doesn't take any extra effort to just be a human being. Just let's all pull together, and I lift you up, you lift me up, and guess what? We both get there faster.
It's amazing, dude. You know what? It's very, very early in the morning or late at night, depending on how you count it. This was mostly just meant as a test run. Hopefully, it seems like everything seems to be running fairly well. There's so much of this I don't know yet, but we've been going now 25 minutes. I appreciate the time you've taken with me over the last couple of days, and for the time that you've taken us kicking with us here, man.
Of course, anytime, my friend.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Pleasure.
We're going to see if this stoppy thing works, and we'll catch you folks next time.